Hey guys, it is mid-June and I'm up here north of Pinedale, maybe a half hour or so, and up at the headwaters of the Green River. And the Green River comes through this valley and it comes up into the mountains here and curls around into the Wind River Mountains and it ends or starts at Green River Lakes, two natural lakes. Every Father's Day weekend, me and my kids and then my wife's brothers and their kids, we backpack into the second lake and camp and fish and just kind of enjoy fathers and kids for a few days. So I'm going to show you some cool things up there. It's really pretty back in there, but you have to drive about 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes on a pretty rough dirt road to get back in there. So here we go. So back up in here, there's some old ranches, and I'll actually backpack right past an old cabin up in there from some homesteaders and ranching that was going on way back in here. There's a few information signs on your way back into the Green River, so I'll show you these. Again, on these, just press pause on your video and read it, and then you can press play again. So just press pause and read this, and then press play again. So we're right here at the end of the pavement. Daniel is down here, Big Piney, Pinedale. So I came from Star Valley, which is over here. I came up to Hoback Junction near Jackson Hole, and then came down, cut across, and came up. So it took me a few hours to get here. Now I have to drive this dirt road back up in here to the Green River Lakes. There's a campground at the end of it, so if you ever want to come camping and just camp in a campground, you can camp there. It's a rough road and it doesn't open till June usually, maybe May, but otherwise it's just snow. So it's really, really pretty back in there. Driving in on this road to the Green River, there's they put up some information signs, or maybe they were here before and I never noticed. But here's one. Again, just press pause and you can read it. There's pronghorn antelope all through here, out past Pinedale and Big Piney and all over the place. It's kind of open prairie countries with these fingers and mountains, finger ridges and mountains all over the place. Press pause on these and you can read it. That's the Green River right there. It's really pretty. Where we'll cross it up there, it's you could walk across it. You could probably walk across most of this. It's not that deep, but several tributaries come in this valley and make it look bigger than it is up high. So. Kind of cool. You can see the foundations of a building up there in the trees. I'm not going to climb up in there. Right there. Anyway, it's getting later in the evening. I need to hike in before my truck broke down on the way up here. So my kid's grandpa came back and got them, and then they hiked in with all their cousins and their grandpa and their uncle. And now I'm catching up about 8 hours later. So I gotta hurry if I'm gonna hike in before it gets dark and show you all the cool stuff on the way in. There's a bunch of mosquitoes out here. It's a beautiful valley. So in this valley there's antelope, moose, elk, deer. We see all of those almost every trip. There's 2 antelope bedded down right there. Just keep going. So that's Green River Lakes right there. This is the lower lake, and it goes around, I think, for several miles, or a couple miles at least long. And here's where the Green River starts, right here. So I drove up this valley, and these are basically, this right here is the start of the Green River, which flows down through Wyoming and into Utah, and then meets up with the Colorado River, and then goes down eventually to Mexico. These are 2 natural lakes, and they form themselves up here. And we like to backpack up past the second one and camp up in the Wind River Range here. And then we like to fish on these lakes every year. So it's a lot of fun. This lower lake, you can actually, there's a campground over here that you can drive to, and you can put boats in with motors. But there's maybe a 1/4 mile long river that connects the two lakes up here, and the upper lake you can't have boats with motors, and so most people just walk in and fish from the shore. There's some antelope running around up there. I don't know if they're playing or... Oh, they just disappeared again. They've been running all over that hillside, but this is one of the most beautiful places in the world, we think. And this is one of the entryways to the Wind River Range, which is this vast network of mountains with trails all through it. There were some horseback riders back in there that had ridden up. There's an old ranch house right there you can go wander around in. It's no longer used anymore. There's several places you have to cross streams as you hike back in there, and sometimes you have to get wet, and sometimes they have a little footbridge. Looks like somebody might have come in and put a little footbridge in here. Because it's grizzly bear country and they're all over, you have to carry bear spray. You just pop this off and spray it, hopefully without the wind in your face, and it'll spray out this thick pepper spray. I once sprayed it on the rock just to see what it would look like, and I wouldn't want to get hit in the face with it. So supposedly that's supposed to slow them down or stop them, but we'll see. Well, I've never seen a grizzly bear up here, so I know they're around though because there are tracks. So this is about halfway along the lower Green River Lake. And the campground and boat launch is down there. I don't know if you can see it, the glare from the sun. That's where I parked down there and started hiking. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but much of the forest has been killed by beetles. There's a lot of gray kill, gray in the killed trees from those pine beetles that are sweeping. They're sweeping across the west and then across Canada, infesting the pines and just killing them. Likely due to global warming, which has made warmer temperatures, and they have to, well, they can reproduce their life cycles faster, and so they're just kind of proliferating. That's one theory, at least. Some of the data seems to be supporting. So kind of interesting. A lot of dead kill in here. So here we are at the end of the first, the lower Green River Lake. And you can see it's kind of marshy in there, so it braids and threads through there all across. Often there's a moose or two in there. But a river connects this to a smaller lake up higher that has both lakes have good fishing, so it'll be fun. Sun's starting to set, so not much light left, maybe 45 minutes or so before it clears out of here. It's a pretty cool hike. The trail drops down and then cuts through all that marsh. Usually it's dry, sometimes it's wet. Last year the snow melt was so high it washed out the bridge over here, and we had to go through the marshes, and then there's another trail on the other side of the lake. But this is the horse trail, and so it's a more commonly used. So last year we hiked in and we're camped way back up in the mountains, and then it rained all day one of the days and melted a bunch of the deep snow that was from that heavy winter last year. And so this bridge was a little bit lower down, and it was like 2 or 3 logs, and the water was just pouring over it. And so we had a bunch of little kids with us, and we were nervous about crossing with them getting swept out. So we had to go through the marshes back that way and then around the other side. So it's kind of adventurous, kind of fun. But they rebuilt this last fall or last summer or this spring. But they made it a little more scary because it's just a single footbridge, so a single log. Let's try this out. See if I can do this without falling. Here's my feet. They got this high handrail. It's hard for little kids to hold on to that. It's not that deep anyway. If you got swept down, it braids out pretty quick over there, and you'd be able to stand up fairly quickly. So it's not as scary as it probably looks. At least not to me. So here we are going through the marshes, and this will take us to the upper lake. So this is one of my favorite stretches of the trail, just through this. It's not marshy up here, at least not this year. It gets marshy out over there. But I love this braided trail through this lower pasture or meadow or marsh or whatever you want to call it. A lot of fun. Very pretty. I haven't seen any moose this year. Often they're out there in the marshes out over by the river. So that's the lower lake down there. I came through that meadow network, and here's the connecting river. So I guess maybe this is technically still part of the Green River, since it connects the two lakes. There's a waterfall back up in there. You can hear the roar of it for the past half mile. I've hiked back up in there before. It's pretty cool. But this is the marshy area where we had to hike through last year because that other footbridge was washed out basically. So we were kind of knee or waist deep in water through here, just threading our way through, and then we picked up the trail and made our way on. But getting close to the upper lake, into the woods, and here we go. It's a pretty trail. So usually the horseback riders come through and cut all this out after the winter's over. And I've passed maybe 30 trees that they did cut out, but this one must have fallen after the first group came in with chainsaws on their pack horses. So got to climb over sometimes. If you're the first one in here before the horses in the summer, then quite often, wow, almost fell. Trying to video and climb over doesn't work. If you're the first one in here before the horses when the spring or summer hits and the snow melts off, then you have to step over quite a few. So here's some fresh cut ones from this year that they got. So you can start to see the next lake, the upper lake. And there we are. There's the upper lake. It's a beautiful, quiet place. There's no camping allowed up here, and there are no motorboats allowed up here, so we backpack in a ways there and set up camp back in the woods and enjoy the lake during the day. It's really pretty to fish it and stuff. So, and the trails just wander all back up through the Wind Rivers. This is a nice access to the Wind Rivers, and there's a bunch of other lakes and such. But this is a really pretty one. Easy 4-mile hike from there to here. It took me an hour and 20 minutes just to kind of casually walk, and nice and slow. So hey guys, so this is the upper lake. I got in last night just at dark, got camp set up in the woods, and then we during the day we come down to the shoreline here and we fish. So it's a lot of fun. Caught quite a few fish this morning. I think I caught a bunch of brookies and 2 lake trout. My daughter caught one as well, but I'll show those to you. It's getting a little windy here. Oops, I'll walk into my lines. These are my poles. There's all the fish. Good haul so far. Brook trout, lake trout. All right, well, it's evening of the second day. We had our fish fry, our little cookout, and cooked up some French fries and some fish in oil, and it was really good. I fried a fish over the fire today in a frying pan. That was pretty good for lunch. I went down, and with my daughter, she has to run cross country about 8 or 9 miles a day during the summer to get ready for cross country in the fall for her senior year. And so we ran back out and then did a big loop around the lower lake and then came back up for 8 miles. So that was pretty fun this afternoon. It's quieted down in the evening. The evenings up here are really cool. We wrap up our fishing here in the evening and then go back up into the woods. Go back up into the woods to camp. So but my daughter hiked up. The trail continues and hiked up up next to Flat Top up there. That's just what they call it. I don't know if that's what it is on the maps, but you can camp up in the woods, back up further, deeper up in there. It's pretty cool. So there's no motorized craft on this lake, so in the 10 years we've been coming up here, I mean, I think we've seen like 10 people total just hike along the trail or back up further and camping or whatever. So anyway, it's an awesome place to fish and hang out for the day. If you camp down at the lower campground, the end of the lower lake, where you can drive into the campground, set up tents or park your camper, you can day hike up in here and fish during the day and day hike out. It's really pretty. There's 2 moose down at the very end. They've been there all day. Thanks for coming on this field trip. This is one of the coolest places in Wyoming, in my opinion. The Wind Rivers are pretty awesome. So if you ever get a chance to come visit Green River Lakes, the headwaters of the Green River, come on up. Thanks, guys.